Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday night at 7 o'clock. It's WOSFL Weekly. I'm your host, Jonny Baillie, and this week, really pleased to be joined by BSC manager Barry McColgan. Barry, how are you?
Yeah, doing well. All good.
Good. I wish I could say the same for myself, to be honest, mate. I was a wee bit of an overindulgence last night, so I've been. I suppose the expression is rough as toast. I think it's probably the best way that I can put it, Barry, to be honest. But we'll power through. As always. But looking forward to chatting with you.
Yep.
Obviously, we know there's some stuff going on off the part at BSC, but also I was really keen. I know we've been speaking since the start of the season anyway, but I was really keen to get you on anyway, just because you're relatively new to the region and coming in and taking over the club, but from where it was last year. So really looking forward to talking to you throughout the show. It's great to have you with us. Just a reminder, if you are watching on YouTube and if you're watching live, then please get involved. As always, give us your comments, questions, opinions on your team's result yesterday. Any questions for Barry, then please file them over. If you can, remember to hit the like button on YouTube as well. It is much appreciated, and subscribe to the Pyramid Promotions channel. If you're listening in audio form, please download the episode and, again, rate and review on your podcast networks. Our sponsors are Roxburgh Insurance Brokers, GLA Chauffeurs, and, of course, VSN Sport. So get in touch with those guys if you need any insurance, any executive travel, or, of course, any kit for your club. Right, Barry, we've had a couple of comments already. We'll jump into the Premier League now. I don't have the fancy graphics this week. I don't know if you saw last week. I had them on the screen and stuff, but the WSFL media guys, obviously, the West of Scotland Football League Facebook guys, obviously taking the weekend off and no done it. Or the cycling chainsaw chap was clipped on me because he was pulling me up last week. He was going to say to them that they had the wrong venue for the Threave game. So hopefully he's not clipped on me and they've not put it up so I can't steal it. So we're back on the ticker. But two massive results at the top of the league. Yesterday, Troon beat Kilwinning 3-0 on Friday night, and then Arthurlie go to Auchinleck and get 3 points, which now makes the gap at the top of the table 11 points. Auchinleck with 4 games in hand. It's a big number, 11 points, isn't it? That gap at the top.
I think if you're 11 points and you've played a majority of your kind of your fixtures, everybody run about you, I think you would certainly feel comfortable going into that second half and knowing that you're probably going to win maybe the next 7 or 8 games in the second half of the season and draw a few and you're probably home and dry.
I know. I think it's the old cliche in football, isn't it, that you'd rather have the points on the board than the games they kind of they catch up on. I mean, obviously Auchinleck can still catch them if they win all their games in the hand, but the problem is that, especially with Saturday's result, because you probably wouldn't have expected them to drop points at home to Arthurlie. Arthurlie maybe not in the best run of form at the minute, but the fact that they have dropped points, it just means that the margin for error becomes a lot smaller now.
Yeah, I'm looking at the league table as well, just as you're saying that. So, the Talbot played 12, Troon 16, but as you say, you want the points first. They still need to play catch up. And I would feel a lot more comfortable if I was at the top, knowing that I've got those points in, and allowing people to catch me up as well if I was in the same position.
Aye, I know, and I think it will be a really interesting few weeks coming up, because if I'm right, which I'm not normally, but if I am right, I think Auchinleck in the Scottish Cup duty or Scottish Communities Cup duty next week at home to Rob Roy, and I think Troon play in the league again here, so Troon go to Arthurlie. So there's another opportunity for Troon to go for potentially 14 points clear. And Craig's just mentioning there, Troon play Talbot on the 28th of February as well. So February's going to be a massive month at the top end of the table.
Aye, absolutely. Just looking at the fixtures as well. Kirkay in there, Rutherglen no long after them. Yeah. You would definitely... It's not going to be an easy kind of run of fixtures regardless if it's Cup or League, but yeah, very, very tough. But if you come out of that month with those points on the board, yeah.
Aye, no, definitely. And I don't know if you saw I watched the highlights just there. I was running the wee man's bath before I jumped on here, and I was watching the Talbot highlights. The winning goal, if you get a chance to go and see it, it's interesting. It's really interesting. It's just a lump up the park for the goalie, and the boy actually has it first time on the volley and just loops over the goalie. I don't know if he's meant it. It's world class, put it that way. And I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he did. But we've got a few comments here. Craig's just mentioned saying that it was a poor performance, just lacked quality, bad day at the office. I saw Tucker's interview. He was kind of saying the same. The chainsaw chat's been a bit less diplomatic about it, a bit heartily kind of diving, faking injury, all that kind of stuff. But listen, see, to be honest with you, Barry, I don't know about you, but see, when you go to places like Auchinleck, you've got to do anything you can to try and get a win, ain't you? And if that means bending the rules a wee bit, then I'm all for it personally.
Well, you see at the top level in the dark arts is something that's talked about on a regular basis. If it's delaying goal kicks or throw-ins or anything, I mean, the less time that ball's in that park, the more chances you've got of keeping them out. So I don't like being on the wrong end of it, but I've definitely done it myself in the cup games this year as well, especially with some of the cup ties that we've had in the first 6 months of the season anyway.
Aye, and Craig's just going to ask in there, who am I blaming for the goal? I'm a notorious goalie hater, Craig, to be honest, but I don't know if Willie needs to be coming out quite as far as he did, just because I don't know what else the boy can do, if that makes sense, because it wasn't really straight on towards the goal, it was kind of to the side, so the centre-half was maybe caught under the ball, but again, that can happen, so I think it's just one of those freak ones. Do you know what I mean? It's not really. I don't know if there's any.
How far is it out?
Sorry?
How far is it out?
It's just about the kind of edge of the box, like maybe a wee bit, maybe 20 yards or something like that, you know, that kind of thing. So, but it's unbelievable. Honestly, it just drops at this guy and he just pops it first time straight over the goalie. So I would say maybe that Willie doesn't need to be coming out that far. But again, that's just me. I've got a bias towards goalies, to be honest with you. Looking around the leagues, Pollock, great run continues. They go to Glenafton and win 2-1. Largs beat Shots 2-0, as we said. Troon take care of winning. Troon have just been so impressive. I don't know about you, Barry, but I was always not waiting for them to fall away, but not maintain this level of consistency. It's been so impressive.
What they're doing for 3 defeats I've got down here. I mean, over 16 games, 3 defeats. What's that? 40 goals conceded, less than 20. That is exactly what you're looking for. That's just a wee bit better than 2-3 goals a game, conceding on average maybe 1. It's championship winning form, really, if you're looking at that kind of stuff.
Aye.
Really solid. So.
No. Definitely, and just talking about Pollock there, if you get the chance, go and see if you can see Carlo Monti's free kick as well for the weekend, and I think that's been a massive signing for them since they've brought him in. I'm not saying it's all down to him. I know there's other factors at play, but I mean, they've now won 4 league games on the bounce, and that from where they were at the start of the season, bringing in players for the lower level to then go and sign a player of Carlo's quality, and you can see it's winning them games. You know what I mean? You can't ask for much more than that when you go and maybe push the boat out a wee bit and go and get somebody with real quality.
And I remember Monty when he was a young boy, and he always had that. I remember him scoring a goal. I think it was from the halfway line or something like that, and he couldn't have been any older than maybe a 16 or 17. He was in the local paper and stuff like that, and he's just gone better and better and better as he's got older. So, but anybody with his ability would be highly sought after, and he scored goals wherever he's went, to be fair.
Aye. Alec Walker's just saying there, I've to sober up, Pollock beat Glenafton. I know Glenafton's doing the best run of form, but it's still from where Pollock were at the kind of start of the season to where they're sitting now sitting 7th. And I think you're right about Glenafton there. I think it's been a really disappointing run for Glenafton recently, and I think they should have real ambitions of getting in that top 8. So that'll be a big blow to them if they don't manage it. And by the way, talk about sober, I don't know if I have sobered up last night, Alec, yet. So you never know. And Kenny's just mentioning that there's 8 midweek games in the Premier. and first scheduled for Tuesday, Wednesday, 10th and 11th of February. So that'll be good. That'll give us plenty of games to talk about next week. And then the last game in the Premier League that we've not touched on was just was Hurlford beating Rutherglen. So Hurlford were on a wee bit of a dip, but that moves them back into 8th as well. And like we said last week, Rutherglen probably looking to just consolidate their position and look towards next season. Right, into the first division. Darvel are the story really at the minute. Nacho Novo, as we said, he's making the management look easy, and that's Darvel now up to second in the table. It's in some turnaround since Nacho went in.
They're last team training now. I've been following their results obviously because we're quite close to home to Drumchapel, and obviously Nacho was there, and obviously he went to Darvel, and obviously the previous stories with Mick Kennedy and stuff like that, and obviously the run that he got them on, and I mean, it's some run of form. I mean, they just every time you open up the page, it's just another win, a tight win, and then it's a battering. But full marks to him, man. I mean, that couldn't have been easy stepping in there. I'm not saying he wouldn't have been knowledgeable of the league or anything like that, but he certainly obviously wouldn't have known exactly everybody. But that is some job, man, and he's got them like a freight train there. They're doing so well.
I know, six league wins on the bounce, and I think as well, Barry, it's probably because of his name and stuff like that. I think there's a tendency, particularly in the west of Scotland, like we love to knock people down. Do you know what I mean? We love to see people fail. Darvel had a lot of it when Mick Kennedy was the manager and stuff. So I quite like it when it works out, you know, that kind of thing, because the people would have been waiting to shoot him down if it hadn't gone well. So fair play to him for getting them and now sitting up in second. Now beating Gartcairn, we know Gartcairn will get their troubles to see that moves them down into third, and then like I say, probably carry on down the divisions. But just to touch on as well, I don't know if you heard during the week that Gavin Fields had left Ardrossan.
All right, I did see that on the Twitter. But yeah, change up on that one. I didn't see that.
I know. It's an interesting one, because for me, I don't know if there's anything going on behind the scenes. I've not heard anything. I've not heard from anybody, but they're sitting sixth in the league. They've not really had the best run of form in the last few weeks, if my memory serves me right. But I don't know. There must be something else. There must be something going on in the background with that, probably, Barry, because they're sitting sixth. They're looking good to get promoted back into the Premier League. So it seems a bit of a strange one, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. They've got a lot going for themselves down there. Obviously, the Saltcoats are down there. They're doing a bit of ground sharing just because of their own pitch. But for the clubs that I've seen down there, it's a cracking facility down there, and they've got everything going for them. Sitting pretty in the league and in the promotion places. Maybe it's just a change of circumstances, or maybe it's just been a clash of opinions or something. It's just the usual case, isn't it? But I would still fancy them to probably hang on in there and probably stay in that kind of top six and look to move up again.
Aye, it's a good, just cracking job for somebody. Like I said, you've got the chance to go in. It's a good stable committee, good support, great facilities. You know, it's an attractive job. It's going to be really interesting to see who takes that job, who goes in there, and then obviously you've got a chance of managing the Premier League next year as well, which is a carrot, because usually when you get these kind of jobs come up, they're usually because the teams maybe not doing so well, like Darvel and Benburb have this season. So it's an interesting one when the team's actually doing well, and then it'll be interesting to see where Gavin turns up next. I think he's a very good manager, and like you said, Craig's just put there that there's been a fallout, but I think everybody that knows Gavin knows he's a fiery character, you know, and he's no backward and coming forward and that kind of stuff. But his records, he's done a great job at Dalryan, and he's been on to do a really good job at Ardrossan. So I'm sure wherever he pops up next, I'm sure he'll do well as well. Interesting couple of results for me. Petershill beating St Rochs. Petershill have not the best of season. St Rochs were going really well. They were looking probably the next best challengers to Irvine Meadow, but I know Irvine Meadow dropped points yesterday. St Rochs would really have been looking to take advantage. I was surprised at them losing 3-2 to Petershill yesterday.
Yeah, we played against Petershill in one of the cups, and they do knock the ball about really well, and they came out a lot of people forward. For every goal they score, they'll probably concede one as well, and that's no disrespect to them. It's just the way they're played. You know, they're very much on the front foot, but St Rochs have been another solid outfit. They're not going to be hanging about in the bottom half of the table. They're going to be pushing up towards that. I'm just looking at they've got a lot of games to catch up as well. We've only played 12 games. Yeah, it's a slip up, but I would have fancied them to probably get the next 3 points sooner rather than later and just try and get that 3 points back that was probably missed at the weekend.
Aye, no, I agree with you. I think they'll definitely gain promotion somehow. But I was just looking at who could maybe challenge Irvine Meadow. Alex Walker's just saying that surely that's the first division bye with St Rock's getting beaten. And to be honest, I've felt like that for the last couple of weeks. I think the job that Jamie McKim's done at Irvine Meadow, we spoke about it last week when PG was on, but they'll go on and win that league, and then I suppose it's just about building into the Premier League next year.
Yeah, I think Irvine will get their 20 wins. It'll probably need to win the league. One defeat, I don't see them slipping up. I don't think they're completely out of sight, but I would be very, very surprised if they didn't hang on to stay at least in the top two. Darvo's obviously chasing, but there's still a 9-point gap there, and they've played the same amount of games as well. So, if Irvine afford a slip up, they can probably afford 2 or 3. But yeah, I would say Irvine would be strong contenders to win it.
Aye, no, definitely. And the other results, Lanark, 3-1 win against Neilston. It's a really good result for Lanark. They just seem to be, I know we've spoken about the change during the summer and stuff with Daryl Meeko leaving and going to Les Mahago and new squad coming in, and that's a really good result. They've pulled out a couple of really good results against teams higher up in the league, and I suppose it's just a bit, and that'll give them confidence. I mean, you'll know yourself coming in at BSC when you're bringing a new team together, if you like. If you can show that you can win some games, then that allows you to attract better quality player to look into next year.
Aye, I mean, I've got a former one of my players in the Neilston settle with Derek McNabb, and he always used to tell me he was a better forward player when he was defensive, because he started out initially as a centre back and he's been moving further forward, but they'll be annoyed about that result. But yeah, as you say, as soon as you get points on the board, it does breed confidence. And if you can get a win, regardless if it's near the top or even if it's just some of the teams doing beneath you, it makes that first night out that wee bit special when you get them together for a bit of team bonding. But when it comes to the next training session and the next kind of fixtures, I'm not saying it's an expectation, but you've done it once, why do it again? So every win would helps everybody when you're in that kind of spell.
Aye, just that transition period. And then the final result, Thorneywood losing 2-1 at home to Rob Roy, which Rob Roy, like I said, to play Auchinleck next week, so that'll be good to get a wee bit of momentum going in there. Now, into the second division, really interesting results in the second division this week, Barry. Both the top two losing this week, which is unusual, especially Ashfield beating 3-2.
Yeah, I'm happy for Pete. I know Pete a wee bit. Pete had sent over some players to me during pre-season. They'll be desperate to get some points on the board, and our top goal scorer at the time, probably still our top goal scorer to be fair, with Lewis, made his way over to Ashfield just around about kind of October time. So they've not got a shortage of firepower in there. It's just a case of can they maybe tighten up at the back a wee bit better, because they've found the net enough. Just conceding too many, but that one will do them the world of good, and it's quite congested down that bottom half of the table as well. Maybe what they on 18 games played, 12 points. All right, they've got maybe a wee bit less games to play, but as I said, if they can beat some of the teams running about them, they'll certainly come up a few places.
Aye, I think it's probably the same. It's probably the same as we'll talk about with Lanark, to be honest, Barry. For Ashfield, it's just about building something that you can then hopefully progress into next season. And but on the Thrieve side, Ross McClatchy's just saying it was disappointing for Thrieve losing away to Ashfield, but unbeaten run was always going to end at some point. Aye, it probably was, but I suppose the good thing from a Thrieve point of view is that Bells Hill have dropped points as well. So at least when you do get that shock loss, then at least it's not compounded by your nearest rivals picking up points as well.
Yeah, Mary Hill are no pushovers though.
Mary Hill's a really good side. Yep.
Yeah, I was in at Mary Hill for about a week before I went into BSC, but Mark's opened my eyes up a wee bit regarding how to kind of prep and how you can look at future fixtures and stuff like that. He's certainly somebody that I've spoke to a few times already this season, just on kind of thoughts and stuff. But they're a good outfit, and they're certainly going to be fielding that league. I think what are they, 4th or 5th or something like in the league? they've got a lot more in them to finish higher. And again, they score plenty of goals, averaging like 3 goals a game. So yeah, I think they've got a wee bit more in them to go just a wee bit touch higher.
Aye, and John McCann is just the comment there, just saying great result performance from Maryhill. So you said you were Mark Young, Maryhill manager. You said you opened your eyes a wee bit with some stuff. What like? Tell us what was it like?
He's very specific on what he wants to do. He's very. He's certainly better prepared. I'm the kind of guy that falls out of bed and he goes to work in the morning. I get the impression that he probably falls out of bed, makes the bed, puffs his pillows, and makes sure everything's sorted before he leaves the house. Do you know what I mean? He's every detail is important. And as I say, did we just kind of portfolios and stuff like that? He was flicking through when we were chatting, and I was like, I'm way behind here as far as like that kind of work. I'm still a kind of pen and paper type of guy, but yeah, Mark knows his stuff, and he's very well skilled.
Aye, and I think it's something we're probably seeing more of, and it's good, Barry. I think at the level, that we're seeing the professionalism in terms of the coaches is massive nowadays. I mean, I know you've got access to a lot more equipment and online tools and things like that you can use, but it's good to see them taking advantage of it, and it can. I think it's one of those ones where I think at this level, especially as you go maybe further down the divisions, it can be difficult because you don't necessarily get the same teams very often. I don't know how often you've managed to field the same 11 this season, for example. But so that can be difficult when you're trying to plan how you're going to play against somebody. But you can use them to set your own team up.
Yeah. Yeah, we are no different. Everybody kicks about with their own kind of VO or the export for the camera footage and that kind of stuff. One thing I've actually been a wee bit surprised about is a lot of coaches, even in your own division, they're more than happy to share notes. A couple of texts, I'll not name them because I know they've got eyes on this, but with a couple of texts of a couple of people recently because I asked them for help, so they're asking for it back. But it's any bit of detail that you can get on a forward or a winger or they don't like that. It makes that wee world of difference. But it's a very close-knit community with the kind of coaches school, but everybody just wants to do well. That's just it in a nutshell. But there's plenty of that about.
Aye, no, definitely. I think it's something I've found as well. That everybody, I'd say 99% of other managers and coaches are always happy to help if you pick up the phone and ask about this player or that team, or can I get a look at this, that kind of thing. Because maybe we actually don't have a VO camera and stuff like that. So there's a couple of times I've asked if the opposition can send it over, and most of the time they'll be quite happy just to send over the game and stuff like that, which is great. And I know it's a good kind of community way that way. So Maryhill beat Bellshill 3-1. Larkhall beat Forth 2-0. Kilsyth beat Thorn 3-0. Blantyre scored in the last minute to beat Maybole 1-0, and Lesmahagel beat Kilsyth 1-0. I don't know if you've seen the second division, but we're kind of saying it probably looks as if the kind of top half is going to be the top half, and then maybe there'll be one or two that sneak into it. To be honest, mate, I don't know what you're thinking if you've seen it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it. I think he goes far down as maybe Kilsyth or Larkhall. I think that's the kind of cut off. After that, it kind of jumps up in like kind of 4s and 5s. So I think the top 6 is the top 6. I think there's maybe a couple of to and fro in between, maybe 6, 7, 8 at a push. But it does look like the split's starting to appear, and it's a wee bit like that in a few of the divisions. To be fair, it gets congested, but that middle bit seems to be that gap, and that just seems to separate for the wee bit of quality that maybe some teams lack than others.
I think for me, Cambuslang is an interesting one. They've obviously got a lot of games to catch up on, but they've got some real quality going forward. There was some really good results, but I suppose what they've lacked maybe is just that wee bit of consistency. Like if you look at the last 6 league games, for example, they've like 1 lost, 1 drawn, 1 lost. Do you know what I mean? It's just that if they can string a run together in the games they've got in hand, then they could see them so flying right up the table.
Well, if you were a betting man and you were putting both teams to score on, you'd have them on every day of the week, because the they average at least 2 goals a game, but when they lose, they concede 2 or 3. And I'm looking at every single game they've got in the last 10 is a 2-1, a 3-1, a 4-1, a 5-1, a 3-1, a 4-1. They score in every single game, but they definitely concede in every single game. If they were to cut that down, even and get that elusive clean sheet, it would probably give them the world of confidence and just push on that wee bit more. But yeah, there's if they're ready to catch up with those games in hand, then absolutely.
I know. And one wee interesting thing is I suppose the form of Thorn, which is quite an easy thing to say since they obviously parted company with a manager, and they've without a win in 6 now in the league. Anyway, sitting in 12th. At the start of the season, I had Thorn pretty nailed on to be challenging up the top end of the table, and the change of manager. I don't know the kind of reasons for the in-depth reasons for the change of manager, but it doesn't seem to quite have worked for them. Whether there's players that have left because the manager's left, etc., I'm not quite sure, but it doesn't seem to have worked for them.
I remember watching the show a while ago, and I can't remember who you were on with, and you were saying that where you get those teams that come into the league and they shoot up the league and then they just shoot up the next league, sometimes you just reach a level and things kind of balance out. I think Thorn are probably needing maybe that extra wee bit of time in there, consolidate. They've probably been operating, I don't know the team, I've not seen them play this year, but they did a terrific youth system a couple of years ago, and a lot of them were fired through the ranks. Maybe it's just a game that, some of the big boys have called, maybe they've lost a couple and they're just trying to replace them, and it's very, very difficult to replace, some of your better players. But I think Thorn might need maybe that breather for a season. Go, yeah, we've done brilliant for 2 seasons, 3 seasons back to back. Get a breather, go again the following season. But because of that carrots there, where so many places get promotion, there's a lot of teams just chucking it. Not necessarily a lot of money, but certainly chucking all their efforts into we've got to win every week basket. And maybe it's just a slight bridge too far, but they've certainly got it in them. It's just whether or not they're able to kind of build that momentum up again.
And I think what it does as well is it allows the new manager to get his own players in as well in the summer, and kind of build for there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next few months at Thorn. Okay, into the 3rd division. Game of the day was up at Station Park in Demelton. Craigmark beating Ardea 3-1. I watched Sean Kenny, the Ardea manager's interview after the game. He was just saying Craigmark were the better side and deserved to win, but it's another really strong home performance from Craigmark. Their home form has been exceptional this season so far. Yeah,
nobody would fancy going there. Pretty consistent all in. Don't concede many. It's a goal a game. Obviously, you got that. You've got every chance of obviously staying in games, but they score plenty of goals as well. Very, very strong contenders to win it all. But I'm just looking at 2nd and 3rd there. Portrush tucked in behind them. Nicewood tucked in there, maybe 8 or 9 points behind them, but same amount of games played. Very, 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 very tight at the top in the 3rd division.
Mm-hmm. Aye, and in Portal, obviously, they've played 3 games more. They beat St Anthony's 8-1 yesterday, and then St Anthony's announced that Martin Montgomery had left his post. Is it? What's your take on it? It's a shame for Monty. He's been on the show. Great guy. Always enjoyed my interactions with him. So wish him all the best. But it's a shame for Monty because it just didn't quite work out for him.
I know Monty a wee bit. We'd spoke a few times in the phone, and we've had some players in trial and stuff like that who's maybe not quite made the grade at 3rd division level. Brand new guy on the phone. He was trying to help me with a bit of a goalie issue a while ago. And he's like, I could give him a reserve goalkeeper, Barry, but I need him back. And I said, how? And he's like, because he helps me with the coaching. I was like, well, just leave that one, Neil, but I appreciate you trying to help me. But I feel rotten for him because on the phone he was so positive and he knew he had an uphill task. They lost so many players in the summer, and he admitted that he found it really, really difficult to replace some of the quality that they lost. And they were relying on a wee bit of youth, but they were banking on maybe 3 or 4 players that sadly maybe went elsewhere. But just a shame. Feel for him with that one. That was a sore one at the weekend.
Aye, no, definitely. I think everybody knew it was going to be a really difficult task for him this season. So I was a wee bit surprised when it said that he'd left, but it did say mutual consent. So I don't know whether Martin's obviously went and said maybe this isn't quite worked out the way he wants, because it can be. I mean, I've been there. It's when you're losing games and you're taking a couple of sore ones. You do sometimes evaluate it and think, is this worth it? Do you know what I mean? Because the effort and the time and the energy that it takes to be a manager, even at any level, but especially at this level, it does take a lot out of you. And I know he's a busy man off the park as well. So it's maybe just got to that stage where it's all kind of came to a head. But I wish him all the best. I'm sure he'll bounce back and he'll be back in somewhere, no doubt, if he wants to. Other wee shock result for me yesterday was Glenvale beating Dalry 3-2. I just saw on X there just before I come on, 2 goals. Young Mikey McPeak, who was at Irvine Meadow, he's went there on loan. He was down at Maybole with us the first half of the season, so delighted for Mikey. He's a fantastic wee footballer. He just needs to. I would say Mikey's brilliant. He just needs to learn to play at this level, this man's level, if you want, without being kind of flippant about it. But he's got all the talent in the world. But great result for Glenvale. Dalry will be disappointed to lose a bit of ground at the top of the league.
Yep. Yeah, just looking at that as well. The Dalry are really, really strong as well. Same points as Joker, and they've been fairly consistent pretty much all season. Probably could be doing me a couple more wins if you were to ask them. But Glenville will be happy with that. That 3 points kind of separates them for the kind of pack below, gives them that wee cushion as well. So yeah, well played to them.
Yep, and next week, big game in the division. Craig Mark travel to Port Glasgow next week, so that'll be a cracker. I don't know if PG's going to. Oh no, he'll not be because he's at Yoker now, but he'll go over to his beloved Port Glasgow and top of the table clash. If Port Glasgow are going to, like I say, because the game's in hand, they're going to really need to win that game next week against Craig Mark if they're going to give themselves a chance at winning the league. Yeah,
I don't think they want to lose that one. I don't think they want to lose that one at all, purely because Knightswood's so close. Ardee are a wee bit behind them, but yeah, Port Glasgow will not want to lose that one. Craig Mark probably will be happy not losing it, but I think Port will probably need to go there and try and get the 3 points on that one.
Aye, it'll be a cracker next week. Other results: Lugar get a good win against Glasgow United 4-3. Glasgow Uni beat Fanart 2-1. Keller Rovers beat Glasgow Pershore 2-1. Knightswood beat Girvan, that we mentioned, 3-0. And PG's Yoker 2-2 against Easterhouse. So that's the third division. Right, fourth division, Barry, before we come on to the games, BSC, talk us. Do you want to... let's go positive. Let's start positive, Barry, all right? You came in at the start of the season. Give us a bit about you, about your background and your journey into the West of Scotland Football League.
So, initially, I was actually amateur, relatively young due to some real bad injuries. I ran an amateur team, Singer, based Clydebank, and we pretty much consistently just grew up the table. I was there for 10 years. We started it from scratch. Some of the guys that are helping me now were part of that crew that put the team together. We ended up going into the Glasgow Colleges League and the Saturday Morning League, where we left at a fairly strong team, which eventually won the Premier Division. But due to a couple other kind of circumstances and stuff like that, my boys were getting older. They were starting to play 11-a-side. So we had a lot of youth teams. I stepped away, only to be kind of dragged back in, as it usually happens. You don't get much of a break. And then the committee that we had initially there started to build itself back up again. Eventually, we found ourselves at Knightswood for a year, at 19s, just at last season. Finished fourth, pretty consistent. But I wasn't really wanting to kind of return back to the amateur game. I felt I'd done it all. And when we were talking with a couple of teams at the time, we spoke to Knightswood as well and made them aware that, you know, we'd an itch for a better standard of football. Initially, I was meant to be going to Broomhill Lowlands under-20s. That's where I was meant to be at the start of the season. Broomhill hit the wall. And Broomhill being obviously kind of sister clubs with BSC. BSC had said that at the moment they weren't sure what the plans were. And then I knew a guy that was running Maryhill under-20s, Sean, and he tipped me off that Maryhill were actively looking for an under-20s coach. Mark then got in touch with me, and we agreed. Everything was above board. We were all set for Maryhill. We'd held our first week of pre-season, held our first pre-season friendly, and then BSC had made contact and said they wanted to come back in and listen to my structure. And we'd sat down, we'd agreed everything, obviously, after Maryhill gave permission. And I found myself in at the Western Scotland Football League, possibly a year or two earlier than I expected to be. The plan was initially that with the Broomhill thing with the Lowland, I was only meant to be there for maybe a year or two, and then they were going to maybe drop me into maybe as a first team, maybe as an assistant. But as I said, circumstances played out, the door opened, and they gave me it, and that's where I've been since the start of the season. So
Did you look at BSC? Obviously, last year was a struggle for them. Did that matter to you? Were you just kind of thinking that it doesn't really matter because the only way is up, so to speak?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, there were. I mean, I don't mind in saying this, and BSC are fully aware of it. I mean, they were ultimately probably the worst team in the league by a country mile, and that's despite the fact there was some really, really good teams in that division, but they should have been picking up a lot more points in that division. They had BSC are renowned for having a decent youth academy till around about kind of 16s and 17s. They had a team that won the Scottish Cup only a few years, prior to that. And nothing seemed to kind of be, catapulted into the first team, and there was just a gap in there. But that kind of those kind of stats, they didn't really put me off, and I thought I could go in there and I could do something in there. And when we were talking about the Broomhill thing, I said, "Are you sure you don't want me floating about the first team? Because I know the amateur leagues. I know about half a dozen guys that would easily get you." 10, 20 points a season, and then you can add to it. And, when we'd started, it was an uphill task. I mean, obviously I had my pre-season was played out for an under-20s team. We weren't ready for the Western Scotland League, and the players that were kind of left behind it, which wasn't many, weren't up to the task. And that's not a criticism to the guys that did play with me for the first 6 months of the season, but we've patched them up, we've balanced things out, and we've been a very, very difficult team to beat. I know obviously that's Rich saying that after losing 5-2 at the weekend, but we've only lost 5 or 6 games in the league. We've won 30% of our league games. We've drew the other 5. We're one of the few teams that's beat a very, very promising EKYM team in their own backyard. Albeit done a bit of defensive job, but we can say that we've done that this year, and we've made it really, really difficult for some teams to take points off us, and we've stole a few as well, to be fair. But I don't think we've done a bad job in the first 6 months of the season.
No, definitely not. I mean, if you look at last year, I mean, I think it was 165 goals they conceded last year over the 30 games. So, what was the kind of aims for this season? Was it just get a team together, see what you can do, or did you actually sit down and say we could? I've got a feeling that we could maybe squeak into this top 8.
Well, I was obviously in with Knightswood last year, and Michael Pender had taken the job, but I knew Michael Pender's background, and I knew he was going to get them going, and all I had to do was really kind of pay attention. I wasn't really going to have to. I wasn't going to have the same pull on players that he had. The Knightswood are a fairly well followed, really, really strong youth system, never ever short of a player. But even Michael had resorted into getting some of the amateur players in, and he took a team that was sitting, whether they finished 7th, 8th, 9th last year, to top of the league. And he'd built, 5 or 6 guys at amateur, some of which had played with the amateur team that I had. And they've just added to it. I mean, if you get that that nucleus of a really, really strong outfit, and you're able to pick up the wee gems that he's got. You get the boys strewn for, was it Cali? No, Cali Locos, the other team in the Lowland League, I forget their names. But he put Cali Braves. So he picked up the lad strewn in there who we were after. And he's picked up a couple other players as well. Obviously, he's had guys like Dan Miller and stuff like that, but we were never going to attract that. Our emphasis was be ugly, play the worst football ever, put teams off playing football on our pitch and their pitch, and just be the most horrible group of players that we can put out there. And people will either drop their standards where you can get in, or they'll just go for it, and then we can try and pick them off. And in the first half of the season, it worked perfectly. That's how we were able to lure in, as I said, the EKYM result was a particular highlight where it was a touchy, first half, but in the second half, we sat in, left one guy up front, and they just overcommitted. We played a ball through, we got a penalty, scored it, and we just sat in for the rest of the last 50 minutes. And they battered us, but we still walked away with a 1-0. And we've done that on a few occasions to do it, to get the points that we needed. But our target was 10 wins, which is a lot to ask, but we're halfway there. Mm-hmm. And that's what we wanted. And that way we could say, yeah, there you go. Won a third of the games. Let's see what happens in the second half of the season. But the boys have surpassed everything. I didn't expect to get close to the points we were on. Every time we get points, I go, we shouldn't be getting points off of these teams because they've been there a while. But we're averaging a starting 11 around about 19, 20 years of age. And we've got three old guys, 28, 29, and 26. It's that start most games. It's scary how much they've learned. And we've taken a couple of doings. But as I said, it was always going to be on the cards, but they've done themselves proud.
Mm-hmm. Aye, definitely. It's interesting you're saying there about obviously using your words, being horrible, being the worst football team, just trying to see what you can nick. Is that something that you've done because you've had to, and then, or is it like, I take it as the plan? If you can improve, get better players, you can change the way you play.
Well, if MD was to watch, I mean, we've got a highlights reel and stuff like. If MD was to watch the Wishaw game back, that's not a team that plays ugly football because we've been able to add to what we had. We took Ryan Ralston from Rossville, who was their captain at the time, but it came with a drawback that we were losing him for probably the second half of the season, but I was only going to keep him for 8 or 9 games. But he's got experience at the Lowland League. I think he's only 28, 29. We took a boy, Jay Murdoch, off Easterhouse, who was out on loan. We completed that, and he's got 3 goals since he's played. I think he's played 8 games. He scored an absolute screamer against Irvine. And on another day, we'll probably get a draw or even beat Irvine in their own backyard. We do play football now. We just to start us off, we had Rossvale, we had Campbelltown, we had Wishaw, we had the Vale Leven, then the Vale Leithen in the Cup. And I knew if we got 5 or 6 points out of those first 4 games, we were going to get more points. And we walked away with a draw, a win, a draw. We get scudded a wee bit off of the Vale, man sent off, too many foul players, and we just couldn't defend. In the Vale Leithen game, we were 2-0 up and get rightly beat 4-2. But thereafter, we recovered and we started picking draws up. We went to New Mains, we get a draw there. The EKYM game, I keep going back to it, but it was a big pivotal point in our season as well. And then obviously you're looking forward to the away trips, and then we go to Campbelltown the week before last, and we got the 3 points down there. And BSC couldn't even get 3 points there last season, so we done the double of them. So we're aiming to get points off of every single team over a 2-legged tie in a league season. If we do that, then we're on the right track.
Good. How are you enjoying your first season in the West of Scotland? And you said you were keen to make that step up. Has it been what you expected?
I wouldn't say I've not came across anything that's been unexpected, other than obviously the bad news that I got last week. But
I'm just going to come on that.
The football side, I've loved every minute. I mean, the appreciation that you get from your fellow coaches, your fellow committee members, close rivals. it is a level up on professionalism, and that's probably why it is a semi-professional league, or you're part of the professional pyramid. When you're stepping away from playing at John Brown's, White Crook Park on a muddy Saturday morning where the lines are a bit squiggly, the goals are a wee bit bent, you need to do your own corner flags, and I've had to put my own goals up a couple of times this season as well, just because of lack of manpower. But stepping away for that kind of stuff, knowing that everything's taken care of, the points really, really do matter. And it does help for a personal point of view, just that extra wee bit of scope on the work that you do as well. Doesn't go unnoticed. Everybody notices a win. Doesn't matter what division you're in. But I've loved every single minute, and the one thing I like the most is the appreciation you get for your coaches and managers and stuff like that. Everybody wants to help each other out if they can, especially when you ring the alarm bells when you need a wee bit of help.
Aye. So talk to us about the stuff that came out just over a week ago about the kind of off the park thing. I don't know how much you can kind of go into, but if gives a wee overview of what's happening.
Well, as a club, we knew that BSC were always a wee bit tight for cash. We knew that when we walked in the door. But they had said they would support us. There was never going to be any issues, short term to long term. But as I said, it's just the costings of running football teams, and we don't have a huge kind of support. We probably could have been doing with probably more sponsors in at the start of the season. And I think the money's just not been there. They're just not suitable to kind of carry it on, which is a shame because it's a decent wee facility. You know what I mean? We've got a half decent grass park. The changing room's only too bad. We've got a wee room where we can hold a bit of hospitality and stuff like that. It's got a lot of potential, but unfortunately, it's just a bridge too far for the club as a whole, and they have said that as well that they just can't sustain it. It can't be sustained. And my group, my coaches, my committee, we're all made up of amateur managers anyway, and we've all went, if we steer this, can we steer it to the end of the season at least? And the BSC are talking to the league are still to speak to me. But in my own head, I believe there's three options. The first option was the BSC could easily just turn around and go, do you know what, we're going to pull the plug and then we're going to suffer the consequences. We've obviously prevented that. We've said that no, we can internally cope with whatever costings are going to come our way. The second one is we see the season out and then the decision is made. And then the third option is if the league are willing to obviously speak to myself and my committee, would there be an avenue to find a way to go beyond next season? Now that's still in the works, but I'm supremely confident that we can run this on a profit, albeit a small profit. I'm not expecting us to make hundreds of thousands of pounds season in, season out, but with that wee bit of help, we believe we can certainly do it, and it's not going to be easy, but we certainly think we can make it work anyway, and then we'll just need to see what the league say on it.
Aye, no, I hope you do, and I hope people in the local area or whatever get out and support it, because like you said, it was such a tough season for them last season. It just seemed like things were improving on the park, and then off the park just comes in and drops a big hammer on it. Do you know what I mean? It's I think if you looked at it, I think if somebody had said to us at the end of last season that BSC were going to fold and go away a bit like Broomhill did, then you probably wouldn't have been surprised given the season that they had last year. But with the fact that things have been improving on the park, it just seems it'd be such a shame if anything was to happen, and we don't want to be losing any teams anyway.
Well, that was my argument as well, because never mind the league. I mean, the league's the league. I mean, if we do way and above beyond, and if we sneak in to 8th, I mean that would have been so far beyond what everybody's expectation is, because I think everybody expected to get their 6 points per season and then no need to worry about anything else. As it's turned out, we've turned the tables. Unfortunately for Campbelltown, it's them that's that's pretty much, the kind of transplant area where everybody's just helping themselves to their points, and and that's just the way it goes. But we're a far more difficult team to play against, and we played for a friendly. I know a friendly's a friendly, but we scored a freaky goal. But I mean, they're Division 3 and they've been there for a wee while now. And 3-2 we get beat. We played Kilburn in the Cup. I think they're Div 1, 1-0, and it was a penalty in the first or second minute. And I'm not going to lie, it was never a penalty. He kicked my boy. But we've been really, really difficult to play against. We played Petershill in their own backyard, and it was fairly tight for about 50, 60 minutes, and then the third goal killed us. We lost that game 4-0. The group of boys that I've got can be fairly pragmatic. The problem we've got is the Wishaw game probably explains itself. When we need to go and beat these teams, and where there's an expectation that we should go and try and edge these teams out, we're struggling a wee bit. That's the experience that we've not got. There's not enough guys in there that have won enough games. We can defend against them. We can't win against them. But the argument we had with the club itself, and it wasn't really an argument with them, it was just basically going, if we can do this without any real kind of financing behind us, what we're going to do when we get some of the financing behind us, albeit maybe it's not going to be a lot of money, but it'll be enough to maybe take us from 10, 11, 12 to maybe 6, 7, 8. And I don't think the team's going to get a better chance to get out of the division than this season, purely because the standard of the teams that's going to be coming in next season, which is probably going to make it even harder to get out, because the promotion will probably revert back to 1, 2, 3. So it's one of those ones where how far can we stretch our guys, and how much can we theoretically put into it with everything that's going on behind the scenes? Because if we do finish 8th and then something goes on with the league and they say no, we can turn around and go, well, we gave it a right good go, and we can't really offer much more than that.
Aye. No, fingers crossed a solution can be found that can keep the club going, and whatever, guys. But because you've probably heard us talking on the show how impressed we've been with the turnaround for last year and the job you're doing. So fingers crossed. But yesterday, no. You said they're disappointing trying to go and beat teams yesterday. Was that the kind of downfall for you against Wishaw yesterday?
Yeah, but I think it was a combination of Wishaw recruiting some very, very good players the past few weeks. Off the top of my head, I think they've had 6 or 7 players in the past couple of months. They're obviously had a look at things and go, we're not out of the 8th place if we can just mount a bit of momentum. But they were really, really good against us. To be fair, they played actually really well against us when we played them at the start of the season. And again, it was just one of those games where we were ugly and we just made it really difficult, snatched a goal when, we nearly stole 3 points off them. But they've got the boy Ewan on the wing, Ewan Scott, who gave us a torrid time down the left-hand side. But they get the lad in for Royal Albert, who was at Knightswood, scoring 2 goals, cracking chip for about 25 yards. He was off. The guy that laid him off was offside by a mile, but his finish was tidy. But that's just the difference that we're lacking. We've got an 18-year-old up front with a 20-year-old who's not a lot of game time to try and beat a guy who's been on the books at Morton, and he was at Bernburg only recently, the boy Lithgow, and the abundance of experience there. And we just lack that wee bit of experience going forward. But we're gathering as much as we can. But we did try to beat them, and ultimately they just had too much. They scored a third right at half time, just after half time, which ultimately took the game away from us, and we were always going to find it hard to get those 2 goals back.
Yep. Looking at the other results, Carluke beat Giffnut 3-0. Good to see Carluke back to winning ways, because we were a bit concerned that we'd cursed them, because after Thomas had come on the show, they went a bit of a bad run. So it's good to see that they've shook that off. Eggleton beat St Peters 1-0. I got a message for Kenny. He was just saying that the game wasn't great. Sounds like one of your games, to be fair. He was saying it would get football stopped. It was a horrible game, neutralising each other. But then Eggleton scored 95th minute. He said 1 goal's going to win it. They play Royal Albert, Irvine Vicks and Carluke in their next 3, so that's going to be a big run for St Peters in their charge up to 8. Irvine Vicks beat Newmains 2-1, Rossvale beat Campbelltown 4-1, West Park beat Royal Albert 1-0, and Saltcoats 2, Vela leaving 6. What team's impressed you the most so far in the season, Barry?
I said the Vale. I mean, we played the Vale.
They went in a wee bit of a dip, didn't they? But they've picked right back up the last few weeks.
I don't think it would have been enough to create panic, though, because they've got more than enough in-house to take care of that. I think they had a couple of slip-ups, a wee defeat and a wee draw here or there, but they were ruthless against us at home, and we'd get a boy stupidly sent off for mouthing, again, lack of experience, just mouthed after the wrong person at the wrong time. And they hit us for 6, and St Peters, to be fair, hit us for 6 as well, but we were just absolutely awful that day. They played well, and we were just not anywhere near at them, and that could have been 8 in that game. That was where our kind of change of the guard we had to move players on after that game. I wasn't really accepting that result, but Irvine's the one for me that, if they sort that defensive, I don't want to call it a handicap. If they were to stop those goals getting in, they should be sitting for second or third. They've got all the firepower going forward, but they gave you a chance, and they gave us a chance, and we nearly robbed them as well. And they've done it a couple of times where they just look at a sight and then suddenly the goals start to creep in. Eglinton, we were actually able to steal 3 points off of them as well. Similar to what Kenny just said, if you cancel them out, you give yourself a chance. We done it really well. Took a 2-goal lead, shut the back door in the second half. We could have probably scored more in the last 15 minutes, but I think whoever finishes above the Vale will win the league. And if they don't, the Vale will win it. I think they will. I think they'll do it.
Aye, no, definitely. I think they were my tip. Irvine Vicks and Vale leaving. Like you said, they went a wee run. I think they had 4 games in the league that they didn't win. They lost 3, drew 1, but then they've won the last 5 league games. So they've really kind of kicked on and found a bit of form. Right, I've got a wee message for Kenny Young, who's sent us details of some midweek fixtures coming up. So in the Premier League, etc. He said, sorry for using your show as a blatant plug, Kenny. We're always happy to do so. So Tuesday, 10th of February, we've got BV Hurlford, Glenafton, Johnston, Borough, Rutherglen, Auchinleck, and Benburb, Muirkirk, and Irvine Meadow St Roch. So that'll be good. A week on Tuesday, and then a week on Wednesday, the 11th of February, of St Cadoc's v Renfrew, Rob Roy v Lanark, and Peters Hill v Vela Clyde. And midweek fixtures are starting. Not be long till we've got Monday, Wednesdays, Saturdays going. Auchinleck, Johnston, Borough. They'll be looking forward to the clocks going forward. Barry, get all these games.
I'm quite fortunate. I don't think I'm going to have many. I'll maybe have a rearranged tie here or there, but when the big cattles come out due to obviously the extended cup runs and stuff like that, the Monday, Wednesday, Saturdays are a test for everybody. But I'm sure the league will be really, really looking forward to those kind of running games. Less training, everybody will be happy. But so we'll just need to wait and see.
I don't know whether they look at. Then I know it's no easy. It's an impossible task because you run the risk if you schedule loads of midweek games at the start of the season. You run the risk of them not being enough games at the end of the season to get you through to the end of the final date of the season. You know, so it's a real balancing act. You know, and I've said it before on here. I wouldn't want Kenny's job for all the tea in China, to be honest.
It is a tricky one. I mean, I would favour some of the midweek fixtures, maybe the first month, just so that you know that even if you're in obviously the bottom division, I mean, a wee free week here or there can be welcoming at the top end of the scale. How many league games theoretically would you want to kind of play before it gets kind of interesting? Would you go maybe 5 games in the first, maybe three weeks of the season? Would they want that? Would they be happy with that? Would they want more? It just depends how kind of ambitious you really are and where you feel you're at. But I'm in favour of it. I, as I said, with the amateur background I've had, we used to have midweek fixtures right up into the latter stages of kind of August, September. And then you would, and some of them would actually be some of the cups. You would use them as some of the cup games with the groups and stuff like that. But with this level of football, you've not really got that. So
I know, and then but you would get the complaints about cup games being paid midweek because then you want to sell hospitality, and then you've got the gate receipts will be that get halved or whatever. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Right, just before we've finished, Barry, we'll touch on the South Challenge Cup quarter-finals. Great results for West of Scotland teams. Muirkirk 3, Haddington 0. Trinent Cumnock go to Trinent and win 1-0, which I think is just as an impressive result. And Vale of Clyde beat Greenock in a classic West of Scotland Football League 5-4. And also there was a game the day that's known the ticker. So Cumbernauld, Stirling Uni beat Cumbernauld on penalties in the other quarter-final. So for me, Muirkirk making the semi-final of a regional cup competition is incredible scenes.
Yeah, that's brilliant, especially to do it in that fashion. Fair play to them. That's a brilliant result.
I know. I seen somebody where they put in the chat there about Haddington were moaning about Neil linesmen. So it was Craig was Haddington were moaning about the no linesmen and stuff like that. But listen, that's the gig. Do you know what I mean? It's difficult to get referees, linesmen, etc. It's the home side. It's up to them. They do whatever they want. Like I said, if you're wanting to use these, I don't know if it's using it to your advantage, but it's maybe not a priority for them. Do you know what I mean? So who cares? It's fine. But as I said, well done to Ross Cusick and his Muirkirk squad. That's incredible achievement getting them to the semi-final. But as I said, just as impressive, I think, was Cumnock going through to Trinent in Lowland League and beating them 1-0.
I mean, the standard in that Lowland League's fierce. Obviously, Clydebank are in there and doing really, really well. Yeah, I mean that's a top result. I mean that's Trinent's miles away from where I'm at. So to go all the way through there and get the 1-0 is, I'm sure they'll be over the moon with that as well.
Yeah, and it's going to set up a couple of interesting semis. You've obviously got Muirkirk, Vale of Clyde, Cumnock, Stirling Uni. So we could get a couple of tasty games and hopefully get a good final. Kenny just saying that the draw's still to be made for the semi-final, so we'll look forward to that. He's also saying a bit with the club, when we're talking about the fixtures, he's saying like, would clubs be happy with 8 league games in 4 weeks at the start of the season? We'll try to sort out a squad. That's the issue, isn't it? You're trying to balance all that, and you get, I mean, the amount of, I don't know if this year was an outlier for me, Barry. I don't know how you found it, but when I was texting the managers and stuff like that at the start of the season, the amount of responses I got from managers saying that they were lacking bodies because boys were on holiday, right into August and September and stuff like that. So they maybe wouldn't want that. Do you know what I mean? So
well, I nearly get caught out as well because I'm used to my league season starting in August. I'm usually seeing my league kicking off around about kind of when the schools go back. With obviously the West of Scotland that started in late July. So it caught out, you know, I think at one point I had no goalkeeper for 3 weeks during pre-season. I was pulling a goalkeeper in for here and everywhere. So I get that. It is catch-22. It probably would maybe appeal more to some of the 4th division teams or even the 3rd division teams, depending on where they're at. But very, very difficult to kind of please everybody. I mean, I'm all for playing on a good pitch on a Saturday, but how good is a pitch really going to be when it's played on it three times in 1 week? It's eventually going to kind of tire. So it's one of the ones, and you're never going to get everybody on board with that one.
Aye, and Gamer G Mason is just saying about Muirkirk there, they're barely playing league games because of cups, it might push them out in the league. I don't know, like, it's a bit of a fairy tale Muirkirk getting to this semi-final, but equally as impressive a fairy tale is the fact that Muirkirk could be a Premier League team next year, which, if you remember, like, from my days growing up in round about the Ayrshire, the old junior scene, to think of Muirkirk in the Premier League is like, if somebody had told you Muirkirk in 5 years, 10 years time, Muirkirk were going to be in the Premier League, you'd probably get the men in white coats coming to get you. So it's maybe a bit of a balancing act for Ross to carry out, because there's that unbelievable achievement of getting to a cup final, but there's also the unbelievable achievement of getting getting into the Premier League. So it'll be a difficult one for him to manage his squad.
Me personally, nothing beats a cup final. I think if you were sacrifice a wee bit of the league to get to a cup final, especially a big cup final, that probably.
People don't like the South Challenge Cup though, Barry. People always say it's a Mickey Mouse competition because there's no prize money and stuff like that. I personally like it. I do like it. I think it's a good cup competition because you've got the Lowland League teams and the South of Scotland teams and stuff like that. So I enjoy it. I think it's a really good competition. And it's great for Ross and the guys at Muirkirk to be in the semi-final. And of course, John Hughes as well. I mean, so you've got to give as much credit to John Hughes at Vale of Clyde as you do Ross at Muirkirk, because Vale of Clyde getting to the semi-final is a fantastic achievement as well. And we speak all the time about how impressed we are with the job John's done at Vale of Clyde, but that's really good as well for them.
Oh, okay. I mean, they've got a really good support down there, and there's plenty of YouTube videos and that kicking about this year with some of the stuff that's going on down there as well. So a semi-final, possibly a final, that'd be great for them as well. So fair play to them for doing that as well.
Give me a Vale of Clyde Muirkirk final. I think that's what I want. Right. Go on the wee teams. That's what we want. That would be a cracker. Empty. Get Tollcross and Muirkirk emptied for the day. Let's go for it. Right, mate. Listen, that's been brilliant. It's been great having you. It's been great talking to you. Great learning about the goings on at BSC. Like I said, we're all fully behind you, man. Pulling for you, hoping that things get sorted out, because the job that you've done in the short time that you've been there, from where the club were, has been really impressive. So fingers crossed it all gets ironed out. But thanks for joining us, mate. It's been really good.
I appreciate it. Watch this space is all we can say. We don't know what our fate is. Hopefully we'll know sooner rather than later what the plans are. But at the moment it's out of our hands. We're at the mercy of the kind of league, and it's their league, it's their team. So we're hopeful we can impress enough to say that we are fit and able enough to stay together for the foreseeable. So let's hope everything goes well.
No, brilliant, mate, and thanks for giving up an hour of your Sunday evening to come and join us.
No worries, thanks very much.
Hopefully you've enjoyed it. It's not been too painful.
No, not really. I'm just glad the winds never came in, because usually they're a lot more noisy than what they usually are.
I know. I've got my door barricaded in here in my office, so the wee man can't get in. But a bit disappointed. Bad way to end the show. I'm not happy. We dipped below the average 4 goals a game for the first time in a wee while. 137 goals in 36 games brings it on at 3.8. So still a decent tally, but not quite at the 4 where we want to be. Remember though, if you are looking for value for money, dig out a tenner, go and support your local West of Scotland League team. If you're in the area, go and watch BSC, please, and give them a bit of support as well. Remember, if you are watching the video on YouTube, please hit the like button and do it on both streams if you can, and subscribe to the Pinnacle Promotions channel. If you're listening in audio, download and rate and review on all your podcast networks. Our sponsors are Roxburgh Insurance Brokers, GLA Chauffeurs, and of course VSN Sport. And you can catch this show during the week on East End Community Radio as well, so hopefully you enjoy that as well. Until next Sunday 7 o'clock, I'll be back with PG then. I've been Jonny Baillie, he's been Barry McColgan. Take care of yourselves and each other. Cheers.